No, no, it's okay. Now it is fine. Now it is fine.
Yakṣa uvāca akṣayonarakaḥ kena prāpyate bharatarṣabha etanme pṛcchataḥ praśnaṃ tacchīghraṃ vaktumarhasi. So, kind of there is a change in the style. Because all the questions were asked one after the other, like shooting bullets, and they were all answered. Welcome. They were all answered. So now Yakṣa is taking some breath. He looks like that. He says, now I am asking you a different kind of a question. I hope you will be able to answer it quickly. That is how he is saying. You may say, etat this praśnaṃ question, pṛcchataḥ asking to me, to me, that answer, शीघ्रं quickly, vaktum to say, arhasi, you deserve. Just I gave you word to word meaning. Now I am asking you this question, you should answer quickly, immediately. So what is the question now? Bharatarṣabha. O great man of the Bharata clan, that is the address to Dharmaraja. Dharmaraja was, he was born in the clan of Bharata, the king Bharata. So Bharata was the king. On his name, India is known as Bharata. And that is the king, the son of Dushyanta and Shakuntala. That is Bharata. So in that clan you were born. So Bharata was a very great man. And in that clan there are many great people. You happen to be one of the top, one of the greatest in the same clan. Bharatarṣabha. Rashabha means the bull. Bull, the literal meaning, but metaphorically, the greatest, or the greatest, whatever. So that is the Bharatarṣabha address. So the question is, endless hell, akṣayonarakaḥ, means once a person goes into that hell, that won't end. He will remain condemned to the hell eternally. There is a thing called eternal damnation. This is unknown in India. The topic came, therefore I am saying, in the Indian philosophy and religion, there is nothing called eternal damnation. Because there is this transmigration of the soul. A jiva, an individual, goes to hell only because of some of the wrong actions committed by him and to pay for them. And so he will stay in the hell for a length of time, and then when his punishment is completed, there is a limit to the punishment. And once that is over, he will come back and take birth. And now he can revive his life further. He can now live a better life, more cleaner life, and aspire for moksha. There is nothing like somebody getting condemned eternally to hell. There is nothing like that. That concept of, this is called eternal damnation. That concept came from Abrahamic faiths. It is there in Abrahamic faiths. In Christianity it is there, in Judaism it is there. I don't know much about Islam, but in these two it is there. Certainly in Christianity it is there. There is a hell, it is a permanent hell, eternal hell. Satan is its chief, and there are a few jivas will all go to that hell. It is said, Aldous Huxley said, Aldous Huxley or somebody like that, if you go to this hell, the Christian hell, you will find there Newton, Einstein, and Huxley himself, and Shakespeare, all such, may not be Shakespeare, all these scientists you will find there. That is how they wrote. And they will remain there eternally. This eternal damnation of jivas to the hell, a concept which is very alien to Indian philosophy, it was not there, but it was adopted by Madhvacharya. Madhvacharya came in some 12th century or 13th century. By then Christianity has arrived in India already. Many people do not understand. Christianity came to India earlier than it went to Britain. Really. One of the apostles came to Goa, and Christianity was well established. And then Syrian Christians came. They were driven away from Syria, and they sailed across the Arabian Sea and arrived in India. They are one of the oldest Christians. Even now they are there in India, in Kerala, and Goa, Kerala, that belt. Therefore, they brought this concept of eternal damnation. The Christianity brought it. And Madhvacharya belongs to that area. And he borrowed this concept of eternal damnation and introduced it into his religion. It is not so much philosophy as it is religion. So this kind of mix-up happened. Like after 10th century, 11th century, the discrimination, viveka, between philosophy and the religion, that discrimination, that viveka, the discernment was lost, and they got mixed up. There is a mix-up. It is not a happy synthesis. It is a mix-up. There is a difference between the two. And because of this, the philosophy acquires all the undesirable aspects of the religion. And sometimes the religion also may be blessed by the philosophy, but that happens less. The religion doesn't get uplifted much by bringing philosophy into it, but by mixing with religion, the philosophy loses some of its sheen. That is what happened. And then that's why they ask, when you hear this statement that there is Advaita, Visishtadvaita, Dvaita, there are three philosophies, the statement itself is wrong. Because they are not to be clubbed together. Because Advaita is a philosophy, it's not religion. Whereas Visishtadvaita and Dvaita, they are more religion than philosophy. In fact, they were religions as visualized by those acharyas. They were religious systems, belief systems. But a belief system acquires some status when the vision of philosophy, Upanishads, etc., are incorporated into it. And then an attempt is made that the Upanishads, they support that religion. Upanishads do not support a theocratic religion. They are theocratic religions. And both Visishtadvaita and Dvaita are religions with a god in a place there, etc. They are religions, out and through religions, dualistic. How can Upanishad fit into it? Upanishad cannot fit into it. And this idea you can hear in Shankara's Bhashyas also. What he said is, he was not dealing with these religions. He was dealing with Sankhya and others. Sankhya, Vaisheshika, Nayayika. He was dealing with them. And then he says, he says in the Bhashyas, we are Upanishadaha. We are followers of Upanishad. Nobody else, Sankhya, Vaisheshika, Nayayika, they are not followers of Upanishads as much, though they may quote Upanishads, whereas we Advaita people, we are Upanishadaha. We are identified by our total devotion and commitment to Upanishad. That is how he says. Now, these religions which are sectarian and which are theocratic in nature, they have nothing to do with the Upanishad. The two paths are totally different. But then the Upanishad, these acharyas, they took the Upanishads and tried to integrate their religion into Upanishads, thereby bringing the religion to the status of philosophy. That is how it happened historically. That's why common people, how do they know all this? They don't know all this. And then the Advaita people also started the same thing. They mixed philosophy with the religion, and they became Dvaitas in practice, Dvaita people. That's why the Advaita Madhvas, etc., they are no different from Dvaita Madhvas in their practice. And whatever precept of Advaita is there, that is hidden in some corner. They close the doors and sit half a dozen of them. They may study it. But in their practice, they are dualistic all the way, through and through. Therefore, there is no way to distinguish now. Very sad situation. Therefore, that is a digression. I digressed from the point and I said it, and now I am coming back to the point. Madhvacharya, the originator of the Dvaita philosophy, it is not so much a philosophy. When you divide and when you say people are different, the differences are the truth, how can that be philosophy? That is a crass worldliness. And then give the status of religion to that. You know how it is said, Taratamya jnanan muktihi. Can you believe it? You get moksha by knowing these people are different, those people are different, those people are different, all are different, some are higher, some are lower, and all that status you know. Hierarchy you know. In that hierarchy, Vishnu is the topmost, Shiva is the fourth place or fifth place. Like that, and then Brahmadeva is in the third place, higher than Shiva. And Vayudeva is also higher than Shiva, second place. That is how you know all those places. And this is called Taratamya Jnanam, Taratama. So who is superior, who is inferior. All that knowledge you have, that is knowledge, and that gives you moksha. Is it philosophy? Does it sound like philosophy to you? Does it not sound like sectarianism? Philosophy is supposed to unite. Anyway, I am inviting a lot of trouble. This is how it happens. Madhvacharya, he was close to Goa. He was in that belt only, you know. That Udupi, Goa, that belt. He was influenced by the Christian missionaries. And he introduced the vision of eternal damnation for the very first time in Indian religious thought. Till then, in Indian religious thought, the very idea of eternal damnation is an alien thing it is. Okay? So, but then here you have a statement, akṣayonarakaḥ, that akṣaya is not a literal akṣaya. It is apekshika, means a long stint in the hell. That is akṣaya. That is the meaning of it. Just like there is a statement like that about the Swarga also. Chaturmasya yajinaha akṣayyam havai phalam bhavati. Akṣayyam havai phalam bhavati. He gains endless or eternal merit. That eternal is apekshika. Relative to other rituals, this merit is a lot more. That is the idea. Similarly, akṣaya is also similarly here. Here Nilakantacharya made a very interesting comment. He said, samsaritvam is akṣayonarakaḥ. Means this birth we remain worldly, next birth again we come back worldly, birth after birth we remain worldly. That is the akṣayonarakaḥ. Amazing. Means because these philosophers had a very open mind, they asked the question, is there a place called hell? This question they asked. And the religionists and the Purana people said, yes, there is a place called hell. They have a vertical model, place called heaven above. We are in the middle, sandwiched between heaven and hell. There is a place called hell below. And then the directions issue came. Heaven is in the eastern direction, hell is in the southern direction. Like that also they said. Therefore, they thought of a place called hell, but many questioned it. It cannot be a place. It can only be an avastha vishesha, not desha vishesha. It cannot be a particular place. It can only be a particular state of consciousness where you suffer endlessly. That is how they said. Even heaven also they described like that. How scientific these people are. They raise questions. Nowadays, nobody raises questions. No acharya raises these issues. They are all there in the Shastra. No acharya talks about them. They are just unaware of that. Very unfortunate. Therefore, the question is not about eternal damnation, because there is no eternal damnation during Mahabharata time. There is eternal damnation only in Indian literature, religious literature, only after 13th century, which was introduced by Madhvacharya. This point I thought you are all very highly qualified people. Therefore I should put it to you. That is what I thought. If I go to a temple, etc., where there is a particular crowd, I cannot say these things in such a crowd. So, the Acharya, what he says, akṣayonarakaḥ nitya samsaritvam. Means you are samsari all the time. Samsari means caught in the inexorable cycle of pleasure and pain in the short range, and birth and death in the long range. That is the samsara. It goes on and on and on. That is the akṣayonarakaḥ. Coming back, so all these philosophical issues were discussed in a given context, but now we come back to the question. The question is, who is it that will be condemned to endless samsaritvam, endless hell? Who is that? Means it is not so much about hell as it is about the worst thing that one should not do. Because if you do this, you will be condemned to endless suffering of worldliness. So who is that? That is the question. Very, very open-ended question. And so, it is not, the idea is not to point out such and such person is the one who is condemned. That is not the way. If you conduct yourself in this fashion, you are likely to be condemned for endless hell. That way the answer will be. So, now bharatarṣabha is said, akṣayaḥ, endless, narakaḥ, hell, cana by whom, prāpyate, is obtained. That is the question. Okay? Let us finish it. Yakṣa uvāca, akṣayonarakaḥ kena, prāpyate bharatarṣabha, etanme pṛcchataḥ praśnaṃ, tacchīghraṃ vaktumarhasi, yudhiṣṭhira uvāca, brāhmaṇaṃ svayamāhūya, yācamānamakiṃcanaṃ, paścānnāstīti yobrūyāt sokṣayaṃnarakaṃ vrajet. Very interesting answer he gives. So there is a rich man. He finds a Brahmana. Brahmana means a Vedic scholar. Who is a Brahmana? How a Brahmana? It is coming later. In the next question it is coming. So in that next question, whether birth determines Brahmana, the answer is no. Only conduct determines a Brahmana. So by conduct, a person is Brahmana. That is coming next. So that is the Brahmana we are talking about, not the present day Brahmana. Once again, there is a lot of corruption in this society. In Sri Krishna said, one becomes a Brahmana or Kshatriya, etc. by guna and karma. This is what is called social capital. So based on guna and karma, you have Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. That is the social capital. But you convert guna and karma to birth, then that becomes a social curse, not capital anymore. So not that kind of birth-based Brahmana. He is a Brahmana by his virtue, by virtue of his conduct, etc. That is the Brahmana. And then akinchanam, he doesn't have anything, he is very poor. A pauper. Akinchana means he doesn't have a dime with him. He is a pauper. And yācamānamakiṃ, he wants some money to live a life with his family, and so he is begging, yācamānamakiṃ. And then this rich man sees him in the distance. He is begging, and he is a pauper, and he is a great scholar and a great Mahatma. And he calls him, you come here. Did you see this in some stories or movies? It must have happened. You see, in a home, there was the mother-in-law and daughter-in-law. This is the mother-in-law, daughter-in-law syndrome kind of thing it is. And then the mother-in-law went to the canal or the tank, water tank, the village tank, to fetch water with a pitcher. And the daughter-in-law was inside the home. Then a beggar came. He asked, Amma, please give me something. The daughter-in-law said, nothing, get out. That is what the daughter-in-law said. The beggar is walking away. He is going elsewhere, another next street. And in the meanwhile, the mother-in-law is bringing water with her pitcher. She finished her job, washing clothes, etc., near the village tank and bringing water. And she saw the beggar. And she also saw the beggar coming out from their home. Then she asked the beggar, hey, why do you went there, to that house? He said, to beg something. Then what happened? She replied that nothing is there, get out. That is what she replied, that the lady from inside. How she can do that? Who is she to do that? You come with me. She is the daughter-in-law, she does not have any authority. You come with me. So then this poor beggar walks behind her. And finally, she arrives and goes inside, opens the door, and the beggar stands outside. And then she turns and tells, now you get out. Why? Because to say get out, she doesn't have the authority to say get out. Only I have the authority to say get out. So some Brahmana, a pauper, begging there for some money or some rice or food, etc. This rich man sitting in the facade in a rocking chair, he sees him and invites him, come here. And invites, and then he assumes that this man is going to give something. And so he rushes forward and comes here. And then he says, I am not giving anything to you, get out. If this kind of a mischievous behavior, cruel, and so he is exploiting that poor man. and he doesn't understand the difficulty of the other person, leave alone that he is cruel, he wants to persecute him, that's why he calls him, and then shows an empty hand and says, get out. This person will certainly go to, he deserves eternal damnation. That is the idea. It's not that there is an eternal damnation, that is not the idea. The idea is he deserves the worst punishment. He needs to be condemned the maximum, this behavior. That is the answer. Okay? Now let us say that yācamānamakiṃ, begging, akincanam, a pauper, brāhmaṇaṃ, a pious person, Swayam himself, āhūya, having invited, paścānnāstīti, afterwards, yaha, whosoever, nasti, there is nothing to give. Iti, thus, brūyāt, says, saha, that person, akṣayam, endless, narakam, hell, vrajet, reaches. You got the meaning, word to word meaning. That is not the end of the answer. There is another person also. There are a few more people who will go to endless hell. Let us finish this verse. Brāhmaṇaṃ svayamāhūya yācamānamakiṃcanaṃ paścānnāstīti yobrūyātsokṣayaṃnarakaṃ vrajet. And further, the answer, the question is further answered. Okay? Like, Vedeshu dharmashastreshu mithyayo vaidvijatishu deveshu pitrudharmeshu sokṣayaṃnarakaṃ vrajet. Mithya is apannava vachanam. So mithya is falsehood. That is mithya. Okay? So here is a gentleman who introduces falsehood in Veda. This is a problem. The Veda is considered very sacred, and its message is the most authentic, and it has to be followed by everybody. That is the general understanding. But this person, what he does, he writes a sentence, an artificial hymn he makes out, and introduces into Veda, and says it is Veda. And then the Veda gets contaminated, adulterated. This happens. So, in the Brahmana there is a Vakya. Along with the Swaram he will say. Because to make it sound like Veda. Like the person comes home and says, I am a scholar of Veda. And so before you say anything, he starts chanting Vedic mantras and then asks for money. This happened to me one time. And what he chants is not a Vedic mantra. He doesn't know any Veda. That's okay. He is pretending as if he knows and he is asking for some money. That is different. But then a person, he writes a hymn himself with some wrong message. And he introduces into the Vedic text, somewhere he puts it. And then people start reciting that also along with the authentic ones. And eventually, in one or two generations, it becomes authentic. A person who does such a thing, thereby bringing down the sanctity of the Vedic literature, the sacred scripture, he will go to endless hell. It happened so many times. You see, these Dvaita sects are there. They are not Upanishadas. Upanishada means, it's a very interesting word. Upanishadam adhite. Iti Upanishadaha. One who studies Upanishad. Studying means one who follows the Upanishad. And Upanishads have only one message. That is the message of oneness. Upanishads do not speak of division. In fact, they talk of division as it is perceived and practiced in the society, and then dismiss it as false. That is what Upanishads do. That is the message of the Upanishads. The Upanishads do not cut up the human being into caste, creed, race, religion, region, nation, etc. Human being is taken as human being. Manushya-adhikarat. That is one of the Brahma Sutras. In this knowledge or wisdom, a Manushya is eligible. And in Gita, etc., you come across statements, Sayuktas Sasukhi Naraha. That person, Saha Naraha, that person, Idi Yogi. Like that, the language is, it includes the entire humanity. That is the language. It doesn't talk in terms of caste, creed, race, religion, etc. That's why in the Gita verses, in the Upanishadic verses, wherever you find Yaha, Yaha means whosoever. Swami Chinmayanandaji used to say, Yaha, whosoever. He used to shout like a lion, whosoever. Means there is no caste, creed, race, religion, nothing in it. Everything is put aside. A human being. That is the vision of the Upanishads. And the Upanishads talk of the oneness. So, Tattvamasi, the oneness up to the highest point of oneness. That is, the individual is no different from the Godhead. That is the oneness. That is the final, ultimate oneness. And that is Upanishad. That is how it is understood. And Shankara says, if you don't follow Upanishad, God bless you. You need not follow Upanishad. Because Upanishad talks of oneness. For some reason, you want to hold on to division, okay, go ahead, hold on to division. Only thing is, Upanishad doesn't support you. That is what he says. And now, in the medieval period, where a lot of degradation happened in our dharma, so what happened is, the Upanishad was distorted. Upanishad, does it say Tattvamasi or not? It says Tattvamasi. Navakrutvo bhyasaha. 9 times it is repeated. Tattvamasi, Tattvamasi. And someone comes and says Atattvamasi. That is how falsehood is introduced into Upanishad. That is one mischief. And another mischief, Tat is a pronoun. Tvam is also a pronoun. According to Panini's Vyakaranam or any system of language and literature, there cannot be samasa between two pronouns. But to distort the meaning, tat tvamasi, that art thou, that meaning has to be distorted. One way of distorting is put a negative principle there, that thou art not. Now the vision is totally reversed, ulta kar diya. And then another way is tattvam make a samasa, tattvamasi, tasyatvamasi. You belong to him. He is the Lord and you are the devotee, you belong to him. And there is always a division. That is how the vision of the Veda was contaminated by falsehood, purposefully falsehood is introduced into the vision of the Veda. This is the lot of Hindus. That's why Hindu dharma is poisoned by all these things, and therefore today Hinduism stands for caste system, which divides the society. That is how we ended up. We are the descendants of Upanishads, and we have ended up with division in the society. Vivekananda bemoaned. What he said is, it is the glory of the Upanishadic Hindus who declared to the world, Tattvavidanandaji, thou art that, or that thou art. That is how they declared. So that is the glory of the Hindus. And the same Hindus practiced untouchability with reference to some of their own brothers. So the Hindu could reach the exalted highest position in religious thought and philosophical thought, and the same Hindu could degenerate to the level of treating one of the brothers as untouchable. Vivekananda, I put in my words, this kind of distortion you introduce into the dharma, that has to be condemned, in strongest possible words has to be condemned. And that is akṣayonarakaḥ prāpnoti. Whosoever introduces mithya, falsehood in Veda. Sometimes falsehood is introduced for a petty gain. I have given you falsehood introduced at a very big level. Sometimes for a petty gain. There is a vakya which is said along with swaram, vaso odvaryuh prayachati. There is a silken cloth there, tied around the yupa. Now this silken cloth, what should be done with it? Therefore advaryuh takes out that silken cloth and gives to whomsoever he likes. Like that, this vakya is not in the original. It was introduced later by an advaryu who was miserly, who wanted to grab that silken cloth and give to whomsoever he liked. He introduced this sentence. It is not there, he introduced. That is also introducing falsehood. Then another instance of introduction of falsehood is Ramayana has 6 volumes and concludes with Rama Pattabhishekam. Rama is anointed as the king of Kosala. That is where it concludes. It's a love story and it concludes there. Then some person wrote Uttarakanda. Wherever you see the Uttara, you have to understand that it is an extrapolation added by somebody later. It is not original. There is a similar thing to Mahabharata also. It is called Uttara Harivamshaha. That has nothing to do with the original author of Mahabharata. The name Uttara, So this Uttarakanda is written and put to the Ramayana. And now Uttarakanda has become in the popular consciousness as a part and parcel of Ramayana. And our cinema people picked up stories from the Uttar Ramayana and made many cinemas, many movies. And therefore it got imprinted in the mind of the general society. That has vitiated the atmosphere and brought a very bad name, very reprehensible thinking about Rama. Now Rama is the most cruel person. He abandons that the pregnant woman, not 6 months, 7 months pregnant, 10 months pregnant. Means any day it is time for birth, childbirth. In that situation, he puts the lady in a chariot and asks somebody, drop her in the deep forest and comes back. Like it was forest there, like you drop that lady somewhere in the Arizona desert, somewhere in the middle and come back. What will happen to that lady? And that is what Rama did. This is how Hindus believe. This is the Hindus are the most unfortunate people in this world. This is the misfortune of Hindus, that they still believe this because of the falsehood introduced by a sick, sadistic mind. Then there is the Shambhuka story that made a permanent scare on the Hindu consciousness. Hindus are now permanently divided by this kind of a story into upper caste Hindus and lower caste Hindus, and therefore caste system has become the curse of the Hindu society because of the Uttarakanda. So Ramabhadracharya, the Tulasi Pīఠādhīśvara, Ramananda Sampradaya man, a great scholar, one of the greatest scholars on Ramayana, he says from the rooftop with the loudest possible voice, he says, there is no second vanavasa for Sita. The second time going to the forest is just not there for Sita. She went to forest only one time, not a second time. You got the message? He used to say that. And he wrote to Gita Press people, don't publish that Uttarakanda, withdraw it from circulation, because it is introducing so much mithya, falsehood into the epic. So people who do such mischief, Vedeshu. Then Dharmashastreshu. There is Dharmashastra, like Apastamba is the Rishi who has given us the laws that govern the code of conduct. That is what it is. Smriti, the code of conduct. They are the laws given by which we will conduct our life. And Apastamba is the Adhar of that code of conduct. Apastamba, Grihya Sutras, and Kalpa Sutras are also there. They are meant for rituals. Grihya Sutras are how we live a life in the society and in the family context. Gruha, you know. So that is the laws he has given. And now some of these people, they introduce undesirable, unnecessary, wrong things into those sutras and write some sutras and put there, which Apastamba did not write. Then the Dharma Shastra, which is supposed to give us the code of conduct in family life, gets vitiated. And now people are misled and they are put to lot of suffering, because whatever is written there is taken as authentic, and so that causes a lot of suffering. And also in some cases, wrong people benefit from this kind of a law. Right people suffer unnecessarily, wrong people benefit. So this kind of falsehood is introduced into Dharma Shastras. My father told me a story. There is a small village called Bellakurru. Telugu people know the name. Bellakurru. So my father used to live in a village called Mode Kurru. This Kurru, like Berg, Sailor's Berg, this Berg, that Philip's Berg, that is the name, Bellakurru. There was a great scholar of Dharma Shastras in that village. And so, for any doubt, if anybody has any doubt, what kind of ritual we have performed in a given context, when such a calamity happens, how should we respond, what is the dharma here, like that, if anybody has any doubt, he is the person to contact and he will give the appropriate advice. What happened is, one time, one Jamindar from Pithapuram or somewhere contacted him for some dharma advice. And the correct advice doesn't suit the wish of the Jamindar. It doesn't suit him. Therefore he said, you change the Dharma Shastra and give me a Dharma Shastra statement, authentic verse written on a palm leaf with the signature, etc., that suits my context and my benefit suits, so that he can grab the property of his cousins, etc., without giving them. And there is Dharma Shastra to support his theft, to suit him. So he wanted this scholar to change the Dharma Shastra in his favor. He did that. He created a new verse which is not there in the original Apastamba Dharma Sutras, and he changed it. In such a context, all this property goes to this person. Like that, he changed it to favor that Jamindar, and he wrote it on a piece of palm leaf days there. On a palm leaf he wrote it, and so this is the Dharma Shastra. If you want authority, go and ask that Shastri. He introduced it. Once he did it, then another Jamindar came to him for a similar thing in a different. And like that he started giving these palm leaves by writing verses, and every single time he gives a false verse to the other person, he has to introduce that false verse in the original Dharma Shastra also. And he used to do 2 copies. 1 copy to the other person, 1 copy to himself. Like that, the entire Dharma Shastra was adulterated by him. And people realized this, because it became one after the other, these episodes, these scandals people have understood. And then he died. Then what they did, all the scholars, etc., decided all the Dharma Shastra books in his home should be burnt to ashes. Therefore, they took out whatever Dharma Shastra palm leaf books were there, dozens of them from his home. They put it on his body, carried it to the cremation ground and put fire to that. Amaya, we got rid of these undesirable books that are controlling the lives of the people. Those days people used to live like that, because there was no courts and all that, they all came later. So this is how it was done. It is something like Sharia law that you see in some of the Muslim countries. So suppose some mullah introduces whatever he likes into that Sharia, and that becomes the law, that makes the members of the society suffer. This is how, by introducing falsehood to the Dharma Shastra, in the Dharma Shastra, you cause a lot of suffering to many people in the society, not in one generation. The falsehood continues generation after generation. This should not be done. And if anybody does this kind of a mischief, he will be condemned to eternal damnation. Then there is a Brahmana. He is a Mahatma, a scholarly person, and given to worship of Gayatri Mantra and all that, Dvijati. Nice person. And then you have some grudge against him. Therefore, come out with a scandal based on some circumstantial evidence, or you create some circumstantial evidence and generate a scandal. You create a scandal, and then you spread it. Then people, first they are unable to believe, and then present some false evidence as the true evidence, and prove that scandal, and thereby that Brahmana, he cannot live in that community anymore. Either he has to commit suicide, or he has to leave the community and go to another place. So anybody who does such a mischief, introducing falsehood in the life of a Mahatma, which is not there, creates a scandal, scandalizes. Such things happen in the society. And such people, they are condemned to eternal damnation. Then Devatas. You see, there are Devatas whom you worship. Okay, like Agni, Vayu, Varuna, Indra. All these problems happened in a Hindu society. As if Mahabharata has anticipated all these problems. So what you do is, you, instead of promoting the worship of an established devata, authenticated by scripture, you create some mischief there and create a new devata and say this is the devata. Or existing devata, you put some wrong attributes to the devata and create some confusion in the society. Like I heard a gentleman who is a guru, a popular guru rather, in India. In that Yakṣapraśnāḥ area, he is a popular guru. And therefore he is giving a sermon. And all the people, gullible and credulous people they are listening to him with rapt attention. And then he says, so the Ketu, whenever you lose something, that is the handiwork of Ketu. He says like that. I am giving that example. I did not get any better example. Therefore I am giving that example. And he gives, very dramatically he says, as you are standing in the marketplace, suppose somebody steals your purse, that means you have lost something, that is the handiwork of Ketu. That means it is the Ketu who caused the loss of purse to this person. And the Ketu, but then later he goes home, cries for a while, and then he settles down and he makes money again. That means the Ketu worked for a short period and Ketu went into another person's life. This person is now free from Ketu. Like that he is giving a lecture. Now what happened is, in Shankara's time there was no Ketu, there was only Rahu. Now Ketu is introduced later. Ketu, these are all very nuances which people with a deep understanding of the language and literature can appreciate. Ketu is one of the 9 planets. There is no such planet there. These people's imagination. Ketu is a planet. And now Ketu in Sanskrit, it is a coincidence. It also means flag. A flag. And a synonym, another name for flag is Dhvajaha. We have seen Dhvajaha. And now the Ketu is called Dhvajaha. You should not call like that. If Ketu is a proper noun, you know, suppose a long fellow is there. HW, long fellow. Now from tomorrow onwards you call him HW, tall person. Can you do that? You cannot do that. You cannot put a synonym there because it is a proper noun. You don't worry about the name of all that, the meaning of all that. It is a fixed name. So, Ketu, if it is a fixed name, he should only be called Ketu. You cannot call him Dhvaja, but they call him Dhvaja. That means there is a confusion there. Like that, you give a lecture. And the person happens to be a big guru, and all these people are gullible, and they are willing to be misled, and so they get misled. So such falsehood you introduce purposefully, then he goes to eternal damnation. Many people may not be doing it purposefully, they themselves are misled, and therefore they mislead others. Swayam confused, paran confusayanti. That is possible. That is one way of doing that. They may not get eternal damnation because they did not introduce that falsehood. They only carried it to the next generation. The original mischief maker, he will go to eternal hell. And then you create a devata, a new devata you create. Not knowing anything, you create a new devata. And a new worship you create. These things happen all the time. New Year and New Year things come. And if it is benign and if it follows the spirit of the scriptures, that is fine. Only name is different. Name and shape is different. But this devotion the scriptural sanction is there, the devotion is there, that is fine. But the scriptures do not sanction it. It goes against the spirit of the scriptures, and also it goes against the accepted norms of devotion, and it introduces some undesirable elements into the worship. That you do, that person deserves the punishment of eternal damnation in the hell. Like you introduce some kind of an animal sacrifice into the worship of a devata. Some offerings are there, but then adhikasya adhikam phalam, somebody said that. You want a greater result, then you have to do greater worship, you have to offer a greater offering. So this kind of wrong notion is introduced into the worship of the devata. Therefore, you start, first you offer some sweet ball or cooked rice, purodasha, etc. Then you offer a goat, then you offer a horse, then you offer a buffalo. Horses are not available, but buffaloes are available. Catch hold of some buffalo and offer it. So this kind of practices, they are introduced by someone and they continue. There is one practice, in Tamil Nadu it is there, it may be there in Andhra areas also. So you will be surprised how the society could be so ignorant. But there are such practices. There is the devata. Devata is amma, mother. Mother should be loving and all that. But then there is an offering to the amma. What is the offering? A goat or a sheep or goat. Okay? Then they create a ritual. They add some elements to the ritual of this sacrificing the goat. The elements are, so if you cut the goat's head in one stroke, that means the devata is very pleased and your desire will be fulfilled. How is that? Somewhat very similar but benign. When you break the coconut to God, why should you break coconut to God? Breaking coconut, how can that be an offering to God? That itself is silliest way of looking at this offering. Break the coconut, take out the kernel, make some dish and offer. Just breaking itself, how can it be an offering? But that becomes an offering. But then when you break it, it breaks uneven. That means the God is not pleased. And it breaks and inside the kernel is spoiled, then the God is not pleased. And it breaks correctly, symmetrically, and inside the kernel is perfect, now your desire will be fulfilled. Therefore, in India, the Purohits practice breaking the coconut. They make a practice. They break it, they look, all the public are looking at them, the puja is going on, they show the coconut, and then break it, exactly center it breaks, and then look around, they all do that. Now the devata is satisfied or propitiated. So this is how into the worship you introduce such superstitions and falsehood, etc. They introduce it. There is always one original mischief maker, and other people follow suit. The original mischief maker is always there. Sometimes you can recognize he is the original mischief maker. You can recognize. I gave you examples also. Sometimes you may not be able to find the original mischief maker, but he is there, and such people are condemned to endless hell. Then Pitru Dharmeshu. You see, Pitru is the parents, not father alone. Father and mother. Mataja pitaja pitarav. Ekashesha samasaha. Two more forms are also allowed by Panini. Pitarau, Matru Pitarau, he allowed Mata Pitarau also. Some sutra is there. So anyway, so Pitru. Then what is dharma? Dharma is duty. Dharma is not ritual. Dharma is duty. And what is the dharma towards parents? While they are alive, do service to them. Whatever service is possible, you do them. And after they are gone, once in a year, do a small memorial to them. That is the memorial, nothing more. In memory of the departed parent or parents, you perform a small worship and then offer food to a few people in that name. For birthday, you are making a big party and bringing all friends and feeding them unnecessarily, all kinds of unnecessary wrong food. They can feed themselves, you need not feed them. But you call all of them and feed them. You better feed some poor people on your birthday, at least. No, you don't feed poor people. You feed your brother-in-law, brother-in-law's brother-in-law, all in-law, you feed them only. They are already overeating and they are heavyweights and you feed them. What is the value in it? Anyway, so on the day, one day, Mother's Day, Father's Day, those words are valid words. Once again, you need not take all kind of beliefs into it. One day. It need not be a particular day only. Adhika Masa aa gaya, so what to do? All these silly things you put aside. Why Adhika Masa has come? Because you made a wrong calculation, it came. Otherwise it would not be there. In a Gregorian calendar, there is no Adhika Masa. Only in your calendar, Adhika Masa is coming because your calculation was flawed to begin with. So, who said the moon goes around the sun in 30 days? That is wrong. Moon goes around around the earth in 28 days, not 30 days. You assume 30 days and then calculations all go wrong. You should update. At least having known the right, as the astronomy improves, you should update. No, we don't update. The things that change, you should update. The thing that changeless, there is nothing to update, you should realize. Atma, you should realize. The almanac, etc., you should update. So what we have done, Atma we have given up. We don't have Atma anywhere in the religion. And whatever change, the change movement of planets and the calendar, almanac, etc., they change. And they need updating. So we don't update. We keep them frozen. So this is all the corruption. But anyway, coming to the point, while parents are alive, and when there is an occasion to serve them, when there is an occasion is not there, then you are not at fault. But there is a context to do some service to the mother and or father or both. You should do it. To the extent you can, you should do it. Pitru dharmeshu. If there are 4 brothers, one brother is taking care of the parents, the other 3 brothers can go somewhere and do the jobs, that is fine. At least somebody is taking care. So, it depends upon a given context also, you should do the service while they are alive. And once they are gone, one day you reserve for the parent, mother, and one day for the father. You be pious on that day, be devoted to the parents and do some puja, whatever puja you do the same puja. And offer some food to poor people, near and dear, some scholarly people, brahmana, whatever. Do something about it. So that is the pitru dharma. What happened is, in the ritual there is a danger. The ritual, if you do not understand the spirit and do it with devotion, if you don't do that, then the ritual will mislead also. So in India, in certain families we see this. when the parents are alive, they don't do any service. In fact, they neglect them. They leave them to their fate. But once the parent is dead, they do the ritual carefully. That is violation of Pitru Dharma. It should not be like that. Now, after the parent is dead, whether you do the ritual or not, that is secondary. Primary is you do service to them, help them while they are alive. That is primary Pitru Dharma. After death, you do some ritual, that is secondary. So you don't do primary, but you do secondary with more enthusiasm. What could be the reason, you know? There is a wrong notion introduced into the people's mind, all belief system. That is, if you don't do the parents' day, that Father's Day or Mother's Day, if you don't do, your children will not come up. Some fear somebody has put. Again, some original mischief maker has put this fear. Only recently it became popular. In my childhood days, this was not popular. It became popular recently. Therefore, these vardis, they don't do any service to the parents while they are alive, but after they are dead, they do shraddha very cautiously, out of fear. That is silly, that you are doing shraddha, that part is good, but out of fear you do it instead of out of love. That is a distortion. That should not be there. It is unfortunate. So, Pitru Dharmeshu. So, in all these things, whosoever introduces falsehood, he goes to hell. How is the discussion? How interesting it is. Let us say, Vedeshu, with reference to scriptures. You see, Saptami is called Vishaya Saptami. Therefore, it with reference to. Dharma Shastreshu, with reference to the laws of conduct, the codes of conduct. Dvijatishu, with reference to scholarly brahmanas. Deveshu, with reference to the gods and goddesses that we worship. That plural is relevant because in the Vedic culture they worship many gods and goddesses. All forces of nature are worshipped as different forms of the same God, but different forms they are. Pitru Dharmeshu, with reference to the duties towards the parents. Yaha, whosoever, why indeed, mithya, falsehood, introduces. You have to add that word that you don't find in the verse. Saha, that person, akṣayam, endless, narakam, hell, vrajet, gains. That is the verse. But the question is not yet complete. It is still there. Let us say the verse. Vedeshu dharmashastreshu Vidhyayo vaidvichatishu deveshu pitrudharmeshu sokṣayamnarakam vrajet. Now a few questions. So, one statement that in these classes, there is in every session, there is a reinforcement of that inner light, and the divinity inside is also reinforced, it is highlighted. That is the value of these sessions. I agree with that statement and I appreciate this statement. Very good. Then, you see, a lot of free time I have, life's aspects are taken care of. How do you suggest I go about a day with Vedanta as prime focus and aspiration? Any day routine you can suggest, a studying order of texts? So that is the question. So I would suggest this sadhana of the Vedanta sadhana, that is the word they use. You can use practice if you wish. That is the meaning of the word sadhana. The real sadhana is a no sadhana. That we have seen in the meditation. The real practice is a non-practice. That you have to understand. This point comes out very strongly when you look at the sadhana chatushtaya. There are 4 sadhanas. And you look at them, viveka, vairagya, then shamadamadi, and then mumukshutvam. Any one of them is not a practice. All the 4 are the vision, the understanding. There is no practice involved in it. And therefore, but practice is the word used. Therefore, first you get the message. Vedanta is not practice, is not so much a practice. It is, if any, it is non-practice. Still we call it practice. It is the practice of non-practice. Because na karmana moksha, Vedanta is not an effort. The effortless karmanya karmaya paścānnāstīti. That is what Vedanta is. And therefore it is a sadhana which is not a sadhana. That message you should get first, get into your understanding. Then, but still, you have to, srotavyo mantavyo nididhyasitavyaha is there, that mandate is there. Therefore, I suggest a day's routine is asked. So, every day you should do at least 15 to 20 minutes of yoga and 15 to 20 minutes of aerobic exercise. You should do that. It begins with that. Yoga includes some asanas and a little pranayama also. I am only saying 15 to 20 minutes. And aerobic exercise also you keep, 15 to 20. Before your knees give up, continue to do aerobic exercise. A day may come when you are not able to do aerobic, that we will think of, but till then you do it. So this is how 30 to 40 minutes time you devote to the good health, to the health. Okay? You have to fix any ill health by this method. And give priority to physiotherapy. We call it physiotherapy. Here they call it physical therapy. You give any issue you have, give priority to physical therapy. Suppose a lower low density cholesterol number is high. So don't try to fix the number. But it is not about fixing the, if you take a statin, the number will be fixed. The statins are sold widely and medical companies make a lot of money on statins. And so take a statin, the number is fixed. It is not about fixing the number. It is more than that. Number is relevant, I agree, but it is more than that. It is the sense of wellness that you get in you. That is more important, not a number. You get a number right, but still you remain not so well also. Therefore, it is not about the number. You give importance to physiotherapy, physical therapy. So that is yoga and aerobic exercises. You follow that approach. And then daily you should have at least 45 minutes minimum. Maximum can be 1 hour. Something around that. 10 minutes give or take. Do Shravanam. And sometimes you may miss also. Heavens won't fall, it's all right. So that Shravanam will be there. Quality Shravanam you should do. People do a lot of Shravanam, but that is not quality. There is no quality in it. So we have done Gita Shravanam, 1 round we have finished, and now 2nd round we started, like that it goes on. There is no quality in it. This rounds, this recycling part, Shravanam is not recycling. It should inspire you, and you should take it to your heart, and you should make it an instrument of inner transformation. That is how Shravanam should be. And therefore you should listen to some quality teaching. They are there. And keep the habit of reading a book. Don't lose it. You see, when Kindle came, they thought all the bookstores will be closed. To some extent it was true. Barnes and Nobles you don't find anywhere anymore. So bookstores have gone, but still there are bookstores. Amazon has a section on books. Home and kitchen, books like that. Just like home and kitchen, there is a section on books. And any book you think of, you will find it there, available for sale. That means people are purchasing books, otherwise these business people won't pursue books. They are purchasing books, they are reading books. Don't lose that habit. If you have lost it, regain it. Every day, minimum 30 minutes to 45 minutes, you should read a book. That is mananam. Without mananam, things won't move forward. And so, again, quality book you have to read, not some silly book. Okay? And then meditation is a must. And which is the best time? You should be meditative whole life. That is a different message. But meditation as a discipline should be there. When I say you should be meditative whole life, that doesn't mean you give up the discipline of meditation. But meditation should be quality meditation, not some recycling. Therefore, which is the best time for meditation? Obviously, it is the morning time. Before the sunrise, even you get up around 5:30 and 10 minutes, 15 minutes, meditation should be there. This is the sadhana. And then whatever all time is left, you use it in the best possible way. The message that you get from Shravana Manana Nididhyasana will guide you in utilizing the rest of the time. And be active, be agile, energetic. Don't allow laziness to come into life. And help others, love others. Be a beacon of light to everybody around you. That is how you have to live. That is the answer I have. I have a feeling that you are living like that already, okay? But still a question, and the answer is given. Then, you see, okay, time is also over. But anyway, I started one thing, I will answer this question and conclude. So we try to understand Tattvamasi and Aham Brahmasmi. This is the goal, and you have to do that. And while doing that, what to do about these stotras, praise of the glory of Ishvara, etc.? It's a valid question. So you have to examine the stotras that you are chanting, put before you. What are all these stotras you are chanting? Suppose you are chanting 6 stotras as a practice. See which one is valid in the vision of Tattvamasi Aham Brahmasmi. Most of them are not valid. Most of them don't deserve to be repeated day after day. They have to be dropped. Drop them. Don't hesitate, drop them. Keep a few, 1, 2, 3. The stotras, the encomiums, the praise of Lord, in which the universality is highlighted, and a universal brotherhood, the love of universal love, they become the topics of the stotra. Such stotras you have to keep. Not all silly stotras. You have to, most of the stotras that are prevalent have to be re-examined. They don't deserve to be repeated day after day. Like Gayatri Mantra, universal, repeated daily. Ekashloki or Prarthana Shatpadi, my friend is going to take it up. And then this Pratasmarana Stotram, 3 verses. Such stotras. Then some of the Upanishadic stotras are there. Hiranmayena Patrena, etc. Ajnanaya Supatharaye, another stotra. Such stotras. Some of them are Vedic mantras. You keep them. And all the original mischief makers stotras have come so many. Just put them aside. And you examine. If it is worth pursuing, you pursue. You can ask somebody who knows if you wish. And if he says it is not worth pursuing, you can drop it. And that way you have to look at the stotras, and then what is the frame of the mind. Every single time you pray to God, that God is all, also in you, and no different from your essential self. These 3 points. So the God is explicit and the God is implicit. Both must be there. In all you have to see God, in yourself you have to see God, and you have to see your essential self, not the practical self or the worldly self. The essential self, also called the innermost self, that is the Atma, is no different from God. That frame of mind should not be lost. Like Rama. Rama is, we love Rama. We have so much devotion to Rama. But that Rama is not different from the Atma. Atma Ramaha. That is the Rama to whom we are devoted. That kind of devotion you should have. The Rama who is in your heart. That is the Rama that you should be devoted to. Therefore, that must be the frame of mind. That oneness, and there is devotion. When you say devotion, there is an element of provisional separation. But that it remains, it does not remain as separation. The provisional separation culminating in the oneness. The stotras, the chants, the frame of mind must fit into this description. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnameva Vasishyate.